When people talk about the Beatles, one name always comes up alongside John, Paul, George, and Ringo: George Martin. Often called the fifth Beatle, he was far more than a producer. He was the musical architect who transformed simple ideas into timeless classics. But here's something many fans don't realize. Despite helping create some of the greatest records in music history, there were moments when George Martin walked out of the studio frustrated, exhausted, and sometimes wondering if a song was even worth finishing. Some recordings tested his patience. Others clashed with his musical instincts. And in a few cases, he openly admitted he simply wasn't happy with the direction the band had taken. So today, we're counting down 6 Beatles songs that George Martin reportedly struggled to embrace, and why these sessions became some of the most challenging of his legendary career. Let's dive in. Number 6. How Do You Do It?
I wish I knew, if I knew how.
Ironically, one of George Martin's earliest frustrations wasn't with a Beatles song at all. When the Beatles first signed to Parlophone Records in 1962, Martin wasn't fully convinced that Lennon and McCartney had enough strong original material to launch the band. Instead, he believed another song called How Do You Do It had everything needed to become a smash hit. There was just one problem. The Beatles hated it. John Lennon and Paul McCartney weren't interested in becoming another group singing songs written by professional songwriters. They wanted to prove they could write their own hits. During the recording session, the band reportedly played the song without much enthusiasm. They completed the take, but everyone in the room could sense something was missing. Eventually, George Martin listened to another song the band had brought with them: Love Me Do, although he still believed the commercial choice was How Do You Do It. He respected the band's determination and took a gamble. History proved the Beatles right. Still, Martin later reflected that the entire experience taught him an important lesson. Producing the Beatles would never be about simply choosing the safest hit. It would always involve trusting 4 musicians who believed fiercely in their own ideas. Number 5. Obladi Oblada. Few Beatles songs sound happier than Obladi, Oblada. But behind those cheerful melodies was one of the longest and most exhausting recording sessions George Martin ever experienced. Paul McCartney was chasing a very specific sound. No matter how good a take seemed, he kept asking for another. And another. And another. Days turned into weeks as the band repeatedly restarted the recording with different arrangements, different tempos, and different ideas. The endless retakes began wearing everyone down. John Lennon reportedly became increasingly irritated, while the rest of the group questioned why such a light-hearted pop song demanded so much studio time. George Martin understood Paul's perfectionism, but even he admitted the process became painfully repetitive. Ironically, the breakthrough came unexpectedly. After stepping away from the session, Lennon returned in a completely different mood, sat at the piano, and slammed into the opening chords with far more energy than before. Suddenly, everything clicked. The version listeners know today finally came together. Although the finished recording became one of the Beatles' biggest sing-along classics, Martin never forgot how difficult the road had been getting there. Number 4. Within You Without You. By 1967, George Harrison had fallen deeply in love with Indian music, philosophy, and meditation. His growing passion led to one of the most unusual songs in the Beatles' catalogue. Within You Without You. Unlike most Beatles recordings, the song featured Indian musicians and traditional Eastern instruments rather than the full band. For Harrison, it was deeply personal. For George Martin, it represented unfamiliar territory. Martin respected Harrison's commitment and admired the authenticity of the project, but he later admitted the song wasn't really to his taste. He reportedly found it slow and emotionally distant compared to the band's other recordings. Still, professionalism came first. Instead of trying to change Harrison's vision, Martin carefully wrote elegant orchestral parts that blended beautifully with the Indian instrumentation. Even if it wasn't his favorite listening experience, he knew his responsibility was to help the artist achieve exactly what they imagined. That willingness to support ideas he personally didn't enjoy became one of the reasons the Beatles were able to push musical boundaries unlike any band before them. Number 3. Revolution 9.
Number 9.
Now we arrive at perhaps the most controversial recording the Beatles ever released. Revolution 9. This wasn't a traditional song. There were no catchy choruses, no memorable melody, no familiar structure. Instead, listeners heard tape loops, random voices, backwards recordings, sound effects, orchestral fragments, and experimental audio stitched together into an abstract sound collage. John Lennon loved it, George Martin, not so much. Coming from a background in classical composition and structured arrangements, Martin struggled to understand what he was supposed to contribute. According to those present, he was genuinely puzzled by the project. Rather than reshape it into something more conventional, he largely stepped back and allowed Lennon to pursue his artistic vision. It became one of the rare Beatles recordings where Martin's influence was intentionally minimal. Although many fans continue debating whether Revolution 9 is genius or chaos, it remains one of the few Beatles recordings George Martin openly admitted he never truly connected with. Number 2. Only a Northern Song. George Harrison wrote Only a Northern Song during the sessions for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. But despite all the groundbreaking material recorded for that legendary album, this song didn't make the final cut. The reason? George Martin wasn't convinced it belonged. The song itself was a sarcastic jab at Northern Songs, the publishing company that controlled much of the Beatles' songwriting catalog. Musically, it embraced deliberate confusion, off-key brass, distorted organs, unusual harmonies, an intentionally unsettled atmosphere. While Harrison viewed it as clever satire, Martin reportedly felt it lacked the musical strength needed for an album as remarkable as Sgt. Pepper. Rather than weaken the flow of the record, he supported leaving it off entirely. Years later, the song finally reached audiences through the Yellow Submarine soundtrack, where many fans gained a greater appreciation for its humor and hidden message. Sometimes a song isn't rejected because it's bad. Sometimes it simply doesn't fit the masterpiece surrounding it. Number 1. Free as a Bird. Our final entry may surprise many Beatles fans. It wasn't recorded during the 1960s. It came more than 20 years later, when Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr reunited in the mid-1990s to complete John Lennon's unfinished demo, Free as a Bird. Many expected George Martin to return as producer. Instead, he declined. Martin later explained that he had mixed feelings about building a new Beatles recording around a home cassette left behind after Lennon's death. To him, the Beatles had ended in 1980. While he supported honoring John's memory, he wasn't completely comfortable presenting the recording as a brand new Beatles release. Rather than stand in the way, he graciously stepped aside. Producer Jeff Lynne took over the project, helping finish both Free as a Bird and later Real Love. Martin never criticized the finished songs. He simply believed some chapters deserved to end naturally. That decision reflected the integrity that defined his entire career. Sometimes knowing when not to produce a record takes just as much wisdom as producing one. George Martin wasn't perfect, and neither were the Beatles. What made their partnership legendary wasn't constant agreement. It was the willingness to challenge one another in pursuit of something extraordinary. Even the songs that frustrated Martin reveal just how fearless the Beatles had become in the studio. Those creative clashes didn't weaken their legacy. They helped shape it. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which Beatles song do you think George Martin struggled with the most? And is there a Beatles track you believe never should have made an album? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Beatles history, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story from the golden age of rock. Thanks for watching Rocky Fame Diaries. Until next time, keep the music alive, and keep discovering the stories behind the legends.